Hi everybody, this is Professor West for GMC. Welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about how to create a report for your database. A report is basically just a way for you to display all the information either from a query or from a table in a way that's simple to read and easy for people to understand. Often we will print out a report and send it to management or whoever. Some other examples could be like a sales report, maybe, or a report to a client to show what all they've purchased or whatever. There's a lot of different reasons to use reports. And I'm just going to jump right in. So I took my vendor table that I was using, and I added an extra field for the employee start date. And then I gave them each a start date. Then I went in and created a new query that simply queried all of that information. There's no restrictions or criteria or anything like that. I just wanted a query that had it all. And now I'm going to leave myself clicked on the query, and I'm going to go to create, and I need to find the report. So come all the way over just past the middle, and there's the one that says report, and we're going to click it. Now notice right off the bat that since it was based on that query, it's got all the information from that query, but you can't see all the information. So this dotted line here tells you where it would cut off if I was to print this right now, which means any of this information over here would not be visible. So let's go to layout view, come over here to view and go to layout view, and we'll take a look. That's where we're at now. We also have design view, which looks like this. We'll get to this later. And oops, we're going to, and we can right click up here at the top of this and choose one of the other views if we want. So we can go into report view. So this is what it would look like if we actually printed it. We can go back to the design view or the layout view. So we're going to pick the layout view for now. And we're going to try to clean this up a little bit. So the first thing I want you to understand is when you click on any cell, that entire field lights up. So if I click on these, now when I come over here between them, see how it changes? I can move that and give myself a little more room. Now make sure when you bring these in that you leave enough room for the longest one to still have room to show up. So when I move these, I'm not going to move them that far. I'm not going to brush all the way over, because if something else comes up that's a little longer, it wouldn't show up properly. Now with phone numbers, it's not going to be very many phone numbers that are longer than those. So I can pull that one in pretty good. Also, if you decide you don't want these headings across here, you could click on it and hit the delete key and delete each one individually. Since we're using to-state, I definitely don't need that much room for the two letters. And since we're using zip code for that one, I don't need all that room. So now I'm starting to get it a little better. So you have to play around with these a little bit because they're never going to be perfect. And you never know. I mean, maybe you don't want some of this information on it. For now, I'm just going to try to get it all onto one page. There we go. So now we fit. Now I'm going to grab, see where it says page 1 of 1? Well, that would be sticking off the page. See how the dotted line's here? So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to drag it over some. So now it says it over here a little bit. So let me show you some things you can do with this report. Let's say I want to order these by the order that people were hired. I can right click here in this field, and I can go down to, let's see, is it date filters? So you can right click on it and go down to where it says date filters. And then you have a bunch of choices here. You could say equals, in which case you would give it a specific date and see which one equals that date, and all of them that would equal that date would apply. Does not equal is the exact opposite. You give it a date and any of them except for that date would apply. Before, after, between, these are all pretty obvious. If you pick between, it would be between this date and that date. In the next week, this week, last week, next month, last month, this quarter, all that. You could come down to all dates in a period, and you could say in the last quarter, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, or actual dates. It's totally up to you how you want to do this. I'm going to leave it like it is because I don't really need to pull out just specific ones. And then I'm also going to right click and I'm going to tell it to sort from the, you can do the newest to oldest or the oldest to the newest. So I'm going to do oldest to newest. And that puts my very first employee, which I have started here at 2015, at top. And the newest employee, which started just a couple months ago, is down here at the bottom. Once you get it like you want it, it's a good idea to go ahead and save your report. So I'm going to click on File, and I'm going to go to Save, and it's already got a name. It says Vendor with Dates. So I'm just going to leave it like that because it's going to put it down here. It already knows it's a report, so it's going to be in my report. And this is a report of my vendors with dates. So now let's make it look a little nicer. So let's make sure we're in the layout view. So right click up here, make sure we're in the layout view, which we are. And we're going to, let's select a column here that we want. And if I want, whatever I do to this is going to do it to each of these items. If I want to do another column, I can hold down Control and do another column, and maybe I want this column. So I can do it like that. Or I could do Shift, and it would highlight all the columns from the one to the other. So if this one's highlighted and I want all of them through the zip code to be highlighted, I can do it by holding Shift and pressing it. If I only want certain ones, I would hold Control and press it. So anyway, you have to highlight it in order to act on something. So, which is what we're about to do. So let's go to Format right up here at the top. And this should look very familiar from Word and from Excel. We have everything we need here. We could say, okay, I want to change these to Arial. And there we go, they're all Arial. Oh, and I want to make them a little bigger. They're 11s, let's make those cells 14s. See how they're bigger now? And I want to bold them. And then you can click off and say, okay, this column I just want to italicize. And whatever else you want to do with it. Change the color of the letters, change the whatever. It's totally up to you. If you look down at the very bottom right, you see some other ones down here. That one says Report View. That one says Print Preview. This is going to show you what it would look like if you printed it. It's always important to do this because you want to make absolutely certain that everything over here is okay. If I was in Design View, oops, not Design View. If I was in my Layout view and I didn't quite get these enough, see how now they're sticking off a little bit? When I go to Print Preview, it's going to show you that those didn't quite make it onto the page. So I need to go back and fix that. But it's a really good idea to always check before you hit the print button. Because once you hit the print button, it's going to print. And if you print 20 pages and then realize that, oh, that's not showing up. See, now I've got it, because it's a little too big, this extra number, 2022 for 2022, is on the wrong line. So that's not good. I'm going to change that down, make that look a little nicer. But it was because I bolded it and changed the font size. Let's see. Something else you can do is let's right click up here and go to design view, and it brings it up like this. Here's my page header, here's the details, here's the page footer and the report footer. If I want to come right underneath the page header, I can click and I can make more room. Oops. So that I can add stuff into the header. You can add pretty much anything. You can add names, numbers, however you want to do it. If you want to go to the Design tab, Report Design, come right here where it says AA. It's got a capital A and a smaller a. That is our label box. So I can click and now see how it changes how my pointer looks. And maybe I want to make by dragging down and over, make a box. And then I could say vendor dates report. And again, I can do any of that stuff to this. I could change the size of the font, the text, the color, all that stuff. It's just something you're going to have to play around with. The same can be done in each of these other sections. So I could come, let's say I want my company logo, I could come up here and tell it logo, and that would bring up a box for me to go in and find whatever picture I want for my logo, and I could put it wherever I want. Right now it's got this little green thing. I could drag that over if that's my company logo. And I could grab these little handles here, I can make it smaller, I can make it bigger, whatever I want. It's totally up to you because you are designing this thing. So a lot of times it will be up to what you like. A couple last things that we can mention here. If you scroll down, see where it says page, pages, and all this stuff. You can go into Design View, which we're already in, and you can find page numbers where it says page numbers right here. You can click that and it'll ask, oh, do you want it to say like page 1, or do you want it to say like page 107? Do you want the page number at the top of the page or at the bottom of the page, in the center, all this stuff? These are all options that you have. And the last thing that I want to mention, I'm not going to add those. The last thing I want to mention is that you can come over to where it says themes, and you can choose any of these themes, and it'll change it, the look of your report. So you can pick any color you want, and then when I go back to report view, now this is what I've got. And I could have still moved my vendor report down here, made them bigger, however I want to do it. But that's how you end up making your reports. And then if you print it out, that's what everybody else would see. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed it. And in the next section, we're going to start working on PowerPoint. I'm sorry, on, yes, PowerPoint. See you there, everybody.